The city glimmered under the night sky, drenched in golden lights and the buzz of excitement. Elena lingered by her apartment window, eyeing her reflection as her heart skipped a nervous beat. Tonight was unique, her first proper date with Adrian. She had lingered for hours selecting her dress, a flowing pastel-colored one that flowed like water across her legs as she moved. Her hair cascaded in soft waves. Her scent held a whisper of jasmine, and her eyes shone with both confidence and nervous awe. When her phone rang, she looked at the screen. Adrian. Waiting in the lobby. No hurry, take your time. She smiled gently. He was always patient, always gentle, the kind of man who made her feel protected even in doubt. Below, a black car was parked. A driver got out and opened the door, and as she slid inside, Adrian's gaze caught hers. He looked effortlessly dashing, a navy suit, a relaxed smile, and that subtle warmth she'd grown to love. You look, he hesitated for a moment, his voice low and sincere, like a dream. Her cheeks flushed. You're not so bad yourself. The drive through the city felt magical. Lights reflected off the windows and soft music played in the background. Neither of them spoke much. Sometimes the silence between two people says more than words ever could. The car pulled up in front of the Grand Arcadia Hotel, the city's most refined venue. Chandeliers reflected off tall glass doors, and doormen welcomed them with bowing dignities. Wow! Elena breathed as she entered the lobby. The ground sparkled like marble ice, golden lights dangled from crystal chandeliers, and a pianist softly played in the background. Adrian grinned. Do you like it? It's lovely, she said, glancing around. Like a dream. He took her to the Roof Restaurant, an intimate place with candlelit tables, with a view over the city skyline. The stars overhead and the city lights below seemed to merge into one as they sat. She couldn't help but be aware of the seriousness of the moment. Their first actual date. No phones, no interruptions, just them. The waiter brought over a bottle of champagne, and the gentle hum of a violin filled the air. You didn't have to go to so much trouble, she whispered, her fingertips skimming the rim of her glass. He looked at her for a moment before answering. You're worth it. They talked for hours about childhood dreams, travel plans, little things that made them laugh. With every story, every smile, the distance between them faded. She found herself leaning closer without realizing it, drawn in by his eyes and the calm tone of his voice as dessert arrived. A slice of chocolate cake with strawberries, Adrian said quietly. There's one more surprise. He led her toward the terrace just as a soft melody began to play. The night air was cool and filled with the scent of roses from the garden below. Dance with me? He asked. Elena laughed nervously. I'm not very good. I'll lead, he whispered. Under the stars they began to dance. Slowly at first, uncertain, shy, but then in rhythm. Her head rested gently against his shoulder, his hand steady at her back. The world seemed to disappear. There was only the music, the lights, and the feeling of belonging. She closed her eyes and smiled. I've never had a night like this before. He gazed down at her, his voice soft. Then I'll remind you so that you never forget it. When the music ended, they remained together. No words, but the silence of two heartbeats beating as one. Later, he escorted her to the lobby, holding hands. The night had slipped away like a dream, and they didn't want it to end. At the car, she turned to him. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. He smiled, pushing a lock of hair out of her face. No, he replied softly. Thank you for saying yes. The driver opened the door, but she stood a moment longer, eyes fixed on his. The city lights burned around them, warm, alive, eternal. And as she pulled away, Elena glanced back through the window. Adrian stood there, observing, smiling gently. A moment she knew she would treasure in her heart forever. Tonight wasn't just their first date, it was the start of something ageless.